Well, it's that time of the week again for Sterlo's wrap-up. Round 17, a shortened one, but no less entertaining. The man himself is alongside me. Peter Sterling, nice to see you.
And you, James. We're at that last block of the season. 24 games, you kind of divided into 3 games of 8. The middle period obviously is Origin, which we're about to come to an end to. So 8 games now for all of the clubs, and the jockeying for positions, which kind of began on the weekend to some degree, and the momentum going into finals football is in everyone's mind.
Thursday night we were in Melbourne, Amy Park, for the Storm and the Dragons. A lot made of the 11 Origin players sitting on the sideline watching this game, but just you were going to talk it down, you were eating your own words by the end of the match. 82 points scored. What a game it was, Pete.
More than a point a minute. Yeah, what about that? And look, that's the difference that having 11 Origin players not involved makes. It's the fact that they haven't worked defensively together, and the intensity in defence not quite there because of the calibre of player. Highly entertaining, great to watch, and a scoreline which doesn't show what a contest this was. Like at the hour mark, only 2 points between these two sides, and they were scoring tries tit for tat until Melbourne just exploded in that final 20 minutes, scoring 4 tries, ran away with it. They've now won 5 games in a row during this Origin period. Much of it comes back to the fact that Cameron Smith is on deck each week for them. He's been quite remarkable. Dragons would be disappointed with the way they finished this game and the scoreline. And I guess the big thing that I'm looking at now is the Melbourne side that was named was very different to the one that actually took their place positionally. Now, we've got Cameron Munster coming back into this Melbourne side. Riley Jacks looked very good in this game. We know he was dropped earlier in the season. Brodie Croft has been very, very good. Jerome Hughes, now he's the wild card. This young guy with number 7 on his back didn't play halfback, but he was outstanding again. And see back at fullback where he's been superb in the absence of Billy Slater. But he has played halfback a couple of weeks ago and was just about the best player on the park. So it's quite a quandary coming up, I think, for their coach Craig Bellamy as to who he puts alongside Cameron Munster for these final 8 weeks. They all played really well, all 3 young players. But Jerome Hughes, as I say, he's a little bit of the wild card as to maybe it could be a shock selection to partner Munster in that all-important 6 and 7 position.
Yeah, the sign's looking good for the Melbourne Storm, and now premiership favourites on the back of that win as well. Friday night, a lot of intrigue surrounding the Penrith Panthers and how they'd respond after back-to-back losses, and their first loss at home, and they did so without a host of Origin stars too. 36-4 over the Warriors.
They were fantastic. And I think they were really only tested in the first 10 minutes of each half, and they weathered that well. And again, it's a side that hasn't had any continuity because their halves especially haven't been around that much over the last 4 or 5 weeks. But young Luai was outstanding. And I'm a big rap on Tyrone May. He was playing great football for the Panthers last year before he did his ACL in finals football. So 2 young players to call up were outstanding, but the forwards set the platform. Fisher Harris was unbelievable. Harawira Naira coming off the bench was outstanding. Isaiah Yeo, the responsibility of captain, he relished that. So it was a really good all-round performance. They did not have a poor player, and I think if they finish in the top 4, they can win this premiership. So when you've got every player playing well with the depth of their roster, very, very tough to beat. Outstanding performance. The number 7 was superb, 20 points. He'd only had a brief stint in round 10 against Newcastle. So kind of this was his first grade debut when he made every post a winner. And the Warriors were particularly disappointing. A couple of calls went against them early in the game, and you've just got to be able to react to that more positively than what they did. So a disappointing night for them. They'll play finals football, but again, it poses a real question mark as to whether they can go deep into finals football once they are there.
The weekend of the Jeromes. Hughes on Thursday night, Luai on Friday night. Saturday night, it was the Bulldogs hosting the Raiders at Belmore, and it looked all Canterbury. A new era perhaps beginning for this side until the last 5 minutes that was, with Blake Austin coming on the last 15 and turning things around. They're so used to losing the tight ones, Pete. It was shoe on the other foot this time.
Is it true? Did they win?
They did. Still can't believe it.
I sat and watched it, and I still can't get my head around it.
It was the Reece Martin show for 65, 70 minutes.
What a performance. A hat-trick, 24 points, and that's the most scored by any individual in our game in a losing side. So it's kind of a backhanded compliment, isn't it? And a forward achieving that as well. He was great and set them up for a victory until that moment there where Joey Leilua giving the Morris brothers a serve. Not a big fan of that.
No.
3 tries in the last 7 minutes, and the catalyst, no doubt, was Blake Austin coming off the bench. And I think like everybody else, I was sitting there, wondering why Ricky had left it so late. He timed it perfectly because he just made such a difference when he came on. He played with energy, and we know that that's what he can do. But
now, it looks like he's leaving now, Pete. By the sounds of it, it looks like whether it's the Parramatta Eels or English Super League, it looks like he's done at the Raiders come season's end.
Well, I think he feels unloved down there. And he was offered a big contract and basically backed himself, which has backfired because he's not going to get anything like that now. So, he's got deficiencies in his game, Blake Austin. There's no doubt about it. Defensively, as part of that right-hand side, it doesn't read play that well. There are some mistakes in him, but the way that he plays is with energy and enthusiasm, and that's got a lot of positives to it. So, he'll find a home. I don't think it will be in the national capital, especially with Aidan Caesar already re-signed. BJ Leilua, I said on the Sunday Footy Show, the most frustrating person in the NRL to coach. He comes up 14 all. The game is there to be won or lost. Now he goes close to scoring, tries to milk a penalty, which just get up and play it. It wasn't the last tackle. Now on his way back, gives the referee a serve. So they get marched. They get a kick for touch, and from that, the Bulldogs score. Now this is a situation the Raiders have been in plenty of times before. Next time they get up there on the mid-tackle count, the little flick out the side, it's selfish play. Now, he went from villain to hero very quickly, but the reason the Canberra Raiders lost so many close games is because of that kind of ill-discipline. Now, I'm not necessarily putting the spotlight on him for all of those cases, but he's a major contributor. You've got to be aware of what your team needs. What they needed was a quick play of the ball, not a penalty and a penalty for dissent on the back of that, and then to flick the ball over the sideline in an all-for-nothing play because the game was still there to be won. And
the berating of the players after he scores the match-winning try, too far.
This is Josh and Brett Morris, who have done everything in the game and achieved a whole lot more than BJ looks like he will. You don't disrespect those kind of players in those situations where you've been poor yourself up until that moment. But the Canberra Raiders keep their flickering hopes alive, and the most important thing was that they narrowed that gap there until this next game we're about to look at, which...
well, it all went pear-shaped, Pete. We were looking at this gap coming into this round and go, OK, it could be 4 points rather than 6 by the end of the round. The Titans needed to spring a surprise on the Broncos and notch back-to-back wins against them in one season for the first time. Not the case. Absolutely outplayed 34-0 at Cbus Super Stadium. So that gap back to the Raiders and the Tigers is back to 6.
And we're never in it. I tipped them in this game. Now, I thought they'd been really good in their last 2 performances and really thought that a great opportunity to come up with a rare double against the Brisbane Broncos in the same season, back in round 4. Really good performance to win that one as well. But and this is a Brisbane side that was affected by Origin, and started with Alex Glenn at dummy half and hooker, so it was all over the place to a large degree, but never in it. I think they had one attacking set in the first half. Every other time they just lost the football. And this Brisbane side, the one thing that we're seeing from the Broncos is the emergence of some really good young players that are going to play finals football this year, are going to give it a real shot once they get there, but are going to be even better in years to come. The back row, Offa Hengawi was just about the best player on the paddock. Sua, Pangai Jr., outstanding young players. Matt Lodge is going along really well. He was great in this game as well. Katoni Stagg comes into this and until he was injured was wonderful as well. Asako has had a fantastic season. So a great emergence of young players coming through, which augurs really well for the future for the Brisbane Broncos. I expected so much more from the Gold Coast Titans in this one, and as they've done in the past, just didn't deliver when expectations were high.
17 rounds gone, 8 to go, Pete.
That's
Looking forward to it.
8 for everybody now. No buys, no Origin.
How good.
We can knuckle down.
Thank you, Pete.
Cheers, mate.
And speaking of Origin, don't forget this Wednesday, exclusively live right here on 9. Make sure you do join us from 7 p.m. State of Origin 3 at Suncorp Stadium. The Blues going for the clean sweep. Jonathan Thurston and Cameron Smith are part of our coverage as well. We'll see you then.